And once again, it's great to meet and see each of you that are going to join us together. Ask that you would mute your mics, please, until called upon, and called upon you will be. We'd like to welcome everyone that's here with GatherVerse.live and our various social streams with us from around the world, transmetropolitan, transcontinental, as we arrive to our first roundtable of GatherVerse Summit 2026, 4th annual, day 2, 5th annual, our 40th Global Summit, and there is much to unpack. And as much as we have covered over the years when it comes to GatherVerse, we've barely scratched the surface, if you will. And today is no exception. We've assembled different experts from not only across this country I find myself in, but from various places and destinations globally, to be able to sojourn with us on the discussion of human impact and the next responsibilities of innovation. Speakers, what I'll do is I'll call upon you. And I want you to please state who you are, what you are presently doing briefly, and what inspired you to be here briefly, as we have much to unpack. And Malvika, we'll begin with you. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you all today. I'm Malvika Jetmalani. I'm based in Chicago. I'm the founder of Atvis Group, which is a human capital advisory firm driven by the core belief that to win in the marketplace, businesses must first win in the workplace. I'm also the founder of Women Shaping AI, which is a community where women come together to learn about AI together. And what inspired me to be here today is my work is at the intersection of AI and people and culture, and I speak and write about responsible AI and ethical AI, and this is a topic I'm very passionate about. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Malvika. Welcome back, and we appreciate the work that you're engaged in. Very necessary. Kuldeep, we're happy to see you again.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kuldeep Singh and Principal Engineer at ThoughtWorks, and working in emerging technologies and innovation is the key in my group. So we do take care like why really certain innovation is needed. Before actually we're thinking what to do, we always also think why it should be done, what's the impact, how it really impact the community, what are the signals we should really think from humanity perspective, how responsibly we can really innovate so that innovation doesn't lead us to just being fragile. It is about how to thrive in future. So,
and what inspired you to be here, Kuldeep?
Yeah, so to share a few of the learnings which we have. So there are so many things, which innovation we stop, what are the stop criteria, what are the continued criteria, probably somewhere I'll be sharing to the group.
We greet you. Thank you. Key Jones.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again, as always. My name is Key Jones, and I am the founder and the CEO of an organization called Reset. And at Reset, I help individuals overcome and defeat trauma. But the reason what inspired me to be here today is because the everyday work, besides what I do in mental health and education, it actually sits at the intersection of responsible and ethical AI. So that's what prompted me to be here every day and every time I'm on these stages. Thank you, everyone.
Good to have you again, and thank you so much. Paige.
Hello. Thank you, Christopher. And it's a delight to join this brilliant team. I'm Paige Dansinger, currently the director of the XR Women Museum. I'm also the founder of Better World Museum and a new entity called Hack the Block, where I work here in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota, to create neighborhood hackathons to engage young people to use AI and game design to create the worlds that they want to live in so that they have ownership of where they live instead of just exist in it powerlessly. So I am happy to be here. I use AI every day, and there's constant contradictions for me, as well as I'm sure others within utilizing it and growing it. So.
Paige, thank you so much, and for the community service work that you've been engaged in the Twin Cities and globally for years. The work matters. Shout out to Minnesota. Shout out to the Twin Cities. It tends to get a bad rap. It's a wonderful place to be. Quite beautiful this time of year. Mary, please.
Hi, Christopher. Hi, everyone. I am excited to be here, and I am Mary Wawiru. I am the lead trainer and founder at AI Literacy Hub. And what inspired me to be here today is I work at the intersection of AI and people. I train professionals on how to, and students on how to use AI to get ahead in this age. And I have been recently working on a research on how AI is affecting mental health, especially for the youth. And looking at what I have so far and whatever we are gathering, I am excited to be here today to also speak on the human impact that AI has to youth, women, and professionals globally.
Thank you, Mary. We're happy to see you once again, and the work that you're doing is outstanding. As I often say, audience, that technologists are in desperate need to become educators this day. And as much as we want to innovate products and platforms and protocols, and we will hyperscale and we'll innovate, taking these wild and strange and very foreign but familiar tools, we will build as we must, as a necessity, if you will. And I look forward to getting to that today. But nothing speaks almost greater when it comes to education for a technologist under the banner of education to give back that which was given unto them. Thank you, Mary. We welcome you. And Roundtable, we're preparing to be able to take off. We have a lot of ground to cover, if you will, and we're going for liftoff. And there's going to be questions that are going to be asked, not just of what you see presented before you, and there will be follow-ups in it, sometimes fireside, rapid succession type feel. Shall we begin? Malvika, I sit here and I think about, to the spirit, if you will, of this conversation, that next responsibilities of innovation, human impact. I want us to be able to prepare the audience for what it is from each lens perspective, and we'll go in a different rotation, but we'll kick off with you, Malvika. I want to know from you, when we talk about this human impact, we talk about the next responsibilities of innovation. Artificial intelligence is here. Multi-headed agentic systems are here. Different various protocols, they're here. Okay, so now what? What is the given line of responsibility when most of the world is desperately attempting to be able to understand the magnitude and fathom, rather, the impact that which has arrived to our doorsteps that wasn't even this close, what it just seems weeks ago, and with this technology being updated daily, sometimes multiple times throughout the day. How do we find this line of responsibility, and what does that mean to Malvika?
Thank you, Christopher. I think we are faced with a couple of obstacles in terms of cultivating responsibility and accountability. One is, you mentioned in your opening, technology surpassing the intellect of the technologist. I think we may already be there, or we're certainly heading there. The second issue is we find ourselves in a world.
Malvika, before you go into that second step, what leads you to believe in confirmation of that?
There are many instances where we have AI making sort of black box decisions, and the technologists not being able to explain why the AI made a certain decision or recommendation and how it arrived there. If you listen to the interviews of technologists like Sam Altman, Dario Amore, et cetera, they often talk about how they cannot guarantee what direction this technology will take and what impact it will have on the safety and the survival of humanity.
Sure.
Geoffrey Hinton, who's named the godfather of AI, has himself mentioned that he believes there's a 10 to 20% chance that AI will wipe out humanity.
Sure.
So that's what I mean when I say technology surpassing the intellect of the technologists. I think the other issue we're faced with is we find ourselves in a world where a lot of these executives who are running these tech and AI organizations are incented to provide short-term profits and gains and to demonstrate short-term gains to their investors or shareholders. And a lot of what we are likely going to talk about today requires long-term thinking. And so what I do in my work to cultivate responsibility is treat AI like a high-impact system that needs clear owners, clear controls, and clear resource, not sort of best effort and we put our value statement on the wall and then we forgot about it. So I start by naming real accountability, who is responsible for the system during and after deployment, who can override it, and who has authority to pause and pull back if harms emerge. Microsoft's responsible AI standard is great to look at if people are not familiar with that one. And then next, I make human outcomes measurable. So I think we need to go beyond asking, is this output accurate? We need to ask, who could this exclude, demean, disadvantage, and how will we know? So NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology here in the US, also provides helpful governance here. And the last thing I'll say is, I think we need to insist on agency for people who are impacted. So whether it's notices, explanations, human fallback, recourse, we need human alternatives and an escalation path when systems fail us or when people need to contest the outcomes of the systems.
And what is the overarching line of responsibility for you, Malvika, under the banner of everything you just expressed?
The way I would explain it in sort of overarching broad terms is I endeavor to preserve the humanness and the dignity of the people involved every step of the way.
Well put. Well, Matt, I think about this key as we rendezvous over to you and Paige and Mary Kuldeep. We're coming right around the corner with you. Thank you for sharing, Malvika. I sit here and think about what you just said. Now, sure, we know that there's the godfather, as it was just expressed yesterday, there's several godfathers, whether it's Geoffrey Hinton or whether you're dealing with Yann LeCun or the godmother of AI, Fei Li. And it's so striking, Key, to me that we brought this up yesterday in rather engaging and vigorous roundtable discussion that even with all of them sitting on stage in a particular forum that happened a couple of months ago, receiving a well-due award, as I sat there and stared at each of them and Jensen Wong and others that were present, I realized that they don't even agree with one another. Malvika talked about the 20% of the existential risk that we're dealing with, of the 20% survival rate, if you will. That's not a very assuring half-life. But at the same time, the next door neighbor sitting next to him, Yann LeCun, believes, if you will, that it's all hogwash. So these are the biggest thinking minds that are assembled, and it's colloquial to say, and these are the ones who say that they understand AI. Paige, Key, right here with you because it's coming to you. They say that they understand it, and they do. These are the ones that innovated, and much alike, and Malvika talked about the Sam Altmans and the other different technologists and the Ilya Sutskever's, their progeny have been the ones that have been able to innovate these generative pre-trained transformers and these type of large language foundational models. And the reality is that I'm under the banner that one of them is right, one of them is wrong. Sure, two things can be true at the same time, or we may have the third understanding that they don't know. Here's the question that I have with you, Key. If they are at contrast with one another, and we're all using this technology in such a way that is democratized and accessed in our living rooms and in the palms of our hands, what is the linear, what is the responsibility that you feel that's given, as opposing for the world to wait for the words of the godfathers and godmothers of this world? What is the impact, and what is it that we have inherited simply by adopting these applied sciences and technologies, Key?
That's a great question. I love it. And as you said, as we can all see, even the godfathers can't 100% agree on what's being said and what's being done. So for me, responsibility starts with one thing, and that's mindset. As we all can see, innovation is not neutral. So every tool that we build actually shapes behavior. It also influences identity, and it shifts that power too. So as leaders, we need to cultivate that responsibility by refusing to separate that technical excellence from human consequence. So you embed the ethical reflection into product meetings, let's say, the same way that you embed performance into metrics. So you ask yourself, like, who benefits? Who benefits from this? As Malvika said, like, who might be harmed? Who's actually missing from these rooms? And then you make someone accountable for those answers. So if no one owns impact, then what happens to that impact? It's going to get ignored, right? Anybody have any input on what I just said?
I have a question for you as a follow-up. We hear the words and expressions, or I'll say that and deduce it down, that I hear about technical excellence. Define that for me, please.
Technical excellence is when we all come back and have the answers to all the technical questions that's being thrown out there. Now, we may not have 100% answer what someone wants to hear. Again, like we just spoke about the Godfathers. Some things they could agree on and some things they can't, but that's life. That's going to happen.
And what is the role of the responsibility that you feel is overarching in the work that you're doing, similar to what Malvika shared with us, Key?
At the end of the day, to me, the responsibility, as I stated earlier, all starts with mindset.
Thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome.
We'll be back with you in just after these few messages. I think about this page, mindset. I think about the ethical responsibility that Malvika and others in this world that have inherited, given that they're technologists. And we become leaders in some ways, those that have been familiar with these technologies, these emerging technologies. In many ways, there's been a price to sacrifice to pay for inheriting these technologies. And as much as we feel that everyone around this page is using artificial intelligence, that couldn't be anywhere further from the truth in terms of understanding artificial intelligence. As I express, what happens when the technologists say, or what happens when the technology becomes more advanced than the technologists? And in many ways, this has come to pass, as Malvika has reiterated. And I think about this excellence, this technical excellence. I think about the work that you find yourself on when it comes to visual intelligence. Because listen, the idea that we're just going to continue to type on screens, touch desktop, tablet, and laptops, and interact with these machines in language, if you will, that's not anywhere close to the intent of the type of technology that we're about to see. But when the things that we've been interacting with these past several years begin to have some type of anthropomorphized body, as many people attempt to be able to put them in, when they begin to have anatomical structure, when they begin to have facial expressions, when they begin to extend this concatenative, or what we call parametric synthesis, speech, they can see you, you can see them. When they begin to assume your disposition, and they turn around through self-aware or beyond theory of mind, they turn around to believe that they themselves have their own disposition, then it gets real. And Paige, you've been engaged in this type of visual intelligence for years. This isn't necessarily new, but it will be a sense of new in terms of human factor cognitive understanding and relatability when it comes to perception. Paige, what is your responsibility when it comes to preparing to the world of this next step of innovation?
Thank you for this question. I often work on that, preparing for the world, the large scope of global, teaching women around the world how to utilize AI to build worlds. Like our Remix Reef initiative, it just won the inaugural community hack for the community hackathon by Reality Hack at MIT. We taught women all around the world to create an open source library and build a lunar coral reef that will go to the moon. So exciting. But at the same time, hyper locally, I cannot go to the grocery store without the current fear of following the wrong car, a federalized agent here who is occupying our city. And when they take a photo of someone, Well, actually, I'm wearing like anti-AI like wear right now. I actually, since this occupation in my city may come to your city too, of federal agents who are using AI for facial, fingerprint, and identity recognition, and then literally following people from their grocery store to waiting for them at their homes. And I'm used to working with creative people or brilliant people who have been in immersive technology for years, but all of a sudden there's thousands of newly employed people with AI technology and making decisions that can rip communities, families, and lives apart. So I think about these implications on a daily hyperlocal level right now, and consider how safety, identity, agency, and as Malvika had talked about a little bit about that human fail safe when something when the computer is wrong, when AI is wrong, when even the idiot behind that camera holding AI is wrong, or the system is inherently lawless.
And is it within this lawlessness page? And congratulations to your MIT hackathon win. A shout out to hackathons from around the world, coming from Hacker Tribe. But is it within this lawlessness that you find a sense of responsibility, that you find a sense of an ethical guide? It's interesting when we talk about this lawlessness, as if you've entered into a vast and rather mighty forest, if you will, and someone forgot to leave the light on as we entered into this on the path, that we get so deep in amongst the branches and the brambles, and we find ourselves inherently responsible once we have found the path that someone paid before, to leave the light on and to continue this track for others to come. Is it within this lawlessness and more that you find a sense of inherent responsibility for the next steps of innovation page?
No question about it. Community hack the block would not even exist if we weren't under this occupation, where now I'm thinking, well, what are the kids on my block? How can they become leaders, problem solvers, and partners with each other when there's good days and worse than today? So it's really important to consider, at least for me, how we're able to use AI and problem solving to make a better world. That's always been my responsibility focus. But right now, it's really working to combat hopelessness, fear, separation, and a sense that one can have control over their life in some way. So we're gonna absolutely teach kids throughout our neighborhoods that they do have a future and their hands are powerful.
It seems like we're in the season of the need for empathy. We as technologists and those that work in business, we each have different perspectives, whether more from a creative flair, if you will, from the liberal arts, or from a sense of deep tech, or none of the above. We each have different perspective called deep. And then Mary, we're coming to you next. But we all have a sense of deep perspective. And it seems to me we can be, and I'm guilty of this, be so siloed in this vertical I find myself in, without understanding that these technologies that I'm so familiar with, and at times unfamiliar with, these things are strange and foreign and alien to others. And these are also highly disruptive, called deep. And they have taken and have already disrupted lives. And sometimes, as one of my elders have said, sometimes things don't matter until it comes knocking on your front door. Mm-hmm. So I find myself, as I listen to you, Paige, I don't know what it's like to be in Minnesota today. I'm here in Silicon Valley. I don't know what that's like. I know what it's like here and elsewhere, places I visited, Key, but I don't know what it's like to be in the state of condition that you find yourself in. But I'm so thankful that you have found an opportunity and have found yourself being an educator and teacher with all the things that I know that you could be doing right now. I'm left with a grain of inspiration. Kuldeep, responsibility, ethical guidance. We talk about the metaverse, we talk about spatial intelligence, spatial computing, that these emerging technologies and sciences will marry and pair up and at some point on a amorphous scale become things that none of us have had documented, and they will evolve through technological convergence of things that in some are very novel yet demonstrated before our eyes. We are seeing technology that we have either read or wrote about in books or in articles and journals, and saying that these things are to come and they are here. The thing is, a lot of this technology, it wasn't supposed to be here until 10, 20, and 30 years from now. Yet, here we are. What are your thoughts on this, Kuldeep?
Yeah, so technology, like it's like evolution. Evolutions never stop. Be it doesn't matter how it actually went through. It takes multiple steps to really get into the right fit, and it is responsibility of multiple side, like collective responsibility of various parties, like not just one organization, not just one set of people can do all the thing. And looking at the fast paced technology is leading, it is now even bigger responsibility of collective, like academia need to come together, government agencies, people need to come together to really define a collective system, collective action plan. So keeping that thing, at least I can share what I've been doing uh, in my organizations. So we have been building software, for example, from years now, and it may be now AI would be start doing that. But the key thing is like how really you measure your software, how much carbon it is producing. So just like, so we contributed to a green software foundation. So where we even contributed to develop SDK that will tell like your web application or mobile app, how much carbon or what all library it is using. Based on that, how much computation is it consuming, which all cloud infrastructure it is using. Based on that, it will tell you how much carbon it is producing. How this thought came into is nudging. Like until you have nudges in front of you for various tech solutions, be it XR solution, be it metaverse solution, be it whatever solution, if I don't have a transparent nudging that if I'm using a chat GPT or any other solution, if I don't know how much carbon it is producing, how much the energy going behind that to write a query and get the response, I'll keep misusing the system.
Sure.
But once I start seeing those nudges in front of me, hey, one query means this many glasses of water, probably I'll stop myself then and there. So those things we are doing when developers are choosing library, they know which library is performant from battery perspective, from power perspective, from computation perspective. So this is one area where when we are actually going ahead with technology, especially in AI, we are using tons and tons of the computing power. Like which particular solution do we really need large language model for each and everything? Probably not. I am talking about a hospital management system, which is very small
But
domain.
before you go into that, and we'll keep the remarks brief and we'll go to Mary, we have much to unpack. It's very fascinating that you talk about the things that happen per prompt, per inference, per post-impact inference, what happens. And I find that very interesting that what if it were to be made transparent? Because it seems to me that thematically this leads into the vestiges of trust itself, with a sense of transparency to be able to better appreciate just what happens when we use GPT or we use Claude Code or Vibe Code. What are all the things that are happening? Because we'll just click, speak, type, text, prompt, iterate, communicate without almost a care in the world for all the impact that it has when it comes to planetary health, without a care in the world for all the data centers that have erected across this country and around the world. And the biggest investment in technology in the past 2 years that has superseded every single investment in technology over the past 100 years is investments in data compute infrastructure. And they've barely just begun. When kilowatts start to be able to form around the world to be able to power this technology, and we see that other families are impacted with these data centers in their own communities when the cost of their billing goes up, when their environment has been disrupted because we're creating energy infrastructure that's never existed before, even the type of energy infrastructure. What does that mean, Kuldeep? Let's bring this home. Let's not dance around this. This is GatherVerse. What does that mean to you in the mission? And what is your singular line of responsibility? Briefly, sir.
Yeah, so I am on vision to actually define all the nudges, like whichever API, whichever system query, be it whatever system I use to build a solution, it will give me rating, the sustainability rating. Every solution should have sustainability rating. So that's my vision. Like once people know that just like health rating on a food package, same thing, every product we are talking, that should have some kind of rating, which is eventually, I submitted one proposal to the ITU-T standard.
Sure.
They have accepted one of my standard where it's a working item for next 3 years.
Congratulations.
People work on defining that standard, but these type of effort need to come more. That's my vision.
And it needs to come more. We'll get back to you, Kuldeep and Malvika. You're right around the corner. Mary, we're up hard pressed against what it is that we're about to unpack with you. It needs to move faster as well. I mean, listen, this is, and I say this to all different types of organizations and all of you leaders that are out there that are building frameworks and manifestos. This is not the season for only building frameworks and manifestos. It's sticking our finger in the face of Meta and Google and telling them how we feel about their technology. You have every opportunity right now to innovate with these tools, and you still want to tell big tech? I'm surrounded by big tech. I'm 2 minutes away from LinkedIn. I'm 2 minutes away from Google. Apple is over my shoulder, and so is NVIDIA. What do I look like going to tell them of what they're doing is wrong? Sure, everyone has a role to play. They must be allowed to play it. I understand that. But at the self-same time, we have this technology. When are we going to get to the point where we move from framework to actually building the platforms that we would want to see? And we're in this era where we're not only subjected to SaaS and software, you can build all these things. SaaS is taking a major hit, software as a service is taking a major hit right now because we finally have technologies that we don't have to be subjected to whatever social subscriptions that you have to offer us, and that we're so limited because we cannot build what it is that you have to offer us. We're building our own way. I say that to say is that we need to move desperately and fast as accelerationists for us that are, to be able to say, okay, wait a second, there's too many frameworks and PDFs. When are we going to build and innovate the things that are buried in these pages? This has been the problem, especially when it comes to the ethical and governance and AI governance community that I see. That is a critique. And Mary, you are tasked with the burden. You are tasked with the burden to take all of this technology and to be able to guide and teach those, because AI literacy is an existential crisis right now. And it may not impact anybody that speaks at GatherVerse today, but it's so anyhow. How do you take the culmination of the things and the magnitude of what's been presented when it comes to technology on a daily basis? And how do you prepare the lessons to be able to teach those who you teach? Where do you start and where do you begin? And what is your overarching line of responsibility with these steps therein?
Thank you so much, Christopher. In AI literacy, right now where we are, we're not just focusing on the tools. We're not just focusing on prompt engineering. we're not just focusing on how to prompt, how to use these tools, but we are getting to a point where we are focusing on how these tools actually affect us as the users. Do we get any harm from it? Like, for example, right now we are working with critical thinking. When you're using ChatGPT, how, or whatever AI tool you're using, how does it affect your critical thinking at the end of the day? Your mental health. We've had so many Gen Zs and youths use AI for therapy. But at the end of the day, after 6 months, for the first day using it as therapy, it probably won't make a difference. But after 6 months, a year or two, what difference does it make to your mental health? And if it does impact your mental health in harmful ways, what, how do we address this, and how do you actually even know that it is affecting you negatively? Social aspects, when you are speaking, especially for youth and young people, when they use AI tools, they speak to them all day. There's all these chatbots that have been created, you speak to them all day and you feel like you are connected, but you have no social life. At the end of the day, it has affected you negatively. If you didn't have it, you would probably have had gone out and sought out friends or something. But it is affecting you right now. How do we acknowledge this, and how do we address this? This is a research that is ongoing, and I am partnering here in Kenya with mental health professionals, social workers, and also we are working towards working with OpenAI so that we can look into how ChatGPT is affecting youths, and also what can they do to ensure that responsibility from their end, but also we as users, we as the consumers of these tools, what should we do to ensure that we are keeping our mental health safe? We are ensuring that our critical thinking, when we're using these tools, we are actually improving ourselves and not the other way around. There's also the issue of the Ray-Ban glasses. As Paige had talked about, and Paige, I commend you for the anti-AI. I'd love to explore more about it. Yeah, and also that is an issue here in Kenya. We've had an issue in the past month where some guy was using the Ray-Ban glasses to record people in public and post these videos and stuff like that. And you see, this is a harm that probably Meta or the producers of such glasses did not oversee when they were creating this. So what is the responsibility of the government, and also we as users, and also for them as the developers of these technologies?
Thank you, Miriam. Poa. Mojo and Misho, I have another question for you for beautiful Nairobi. We saw, and I don't want what Mary just said understated by any of us, even my own self. The mental health and the capacity is dramatically important. There was a 60 Minutes program that came up last year, featured specifically within beautiful Nairobi, Kenya. And the workers were tasked and charged by third party organizations working with big tech to vet and to create safeguards. And they were exposed to horrible content imagery and these diffusion models and these adversarial networks that can produce video and visual content. And they made a wage of $2 an hour for being able to go in there and to put safeguards and to help to be able to stare and to present, and for us as end users to enjoy a much more refined platform ever before it reaches our laptops and our devices. And that they are using different people in different continents around the world. And if that isn't technical injustice, I don't know what is. And what are we doing for these people, the post social impact when it comes to mental wellness. Mary, I must ask, GatherVerse, we must ask, what inspired you to take this path? There's so many roads right now with AI being taken, which is fine in pursuit, but why mental wellness out of this reservoir of options?
Mental wellness. Why mental wellness? First of all, because mental wellness is at the core of everything we do. If you are not stable, if you're not safe mentally, there's nothing you would do. Like for that case that you're talking about, most of these individuals, their families got broken because of the images that they were exposed to. Their mental health, even with therapy, even with all the things that they've been doing right now, they still can't go back to the person they were before they were um, put to this. So mental wellness is at the core of everything we do. And also because these AI tools, they come out, and for we, especially as Kenyans, we are curious people, we will go out, we will do the work, we will check out the tools, we will use them, but at what cost?
Sure.
At what cost? That is the main question that I'm trying to ask, to answer. At what cost?
At what cost? And I think about this and I see the title on Malvika of Women Shaping AI. We're coming off the hills. Thank you, Mary. And Key will be back to you in just a moment, right around the corner. Promise. Yeah, I think about this, Malvika, the inherent responsibility that you've chosen for yourself, if you will, when it comes to Women Shaping AI. That's a heavy title, as it should be. It's impactful, and it doesn't go unrecognized here in GatherVerse, home of the Superhero Engine, our She Summit, which we just had our 4th annual very successful She Summit. And we have a Women's Health Summit coming up in about 2 weeks, everyone. The reason that I'm highlighting and pointing this out, Malvika, is because, listen, we're all technologists. We want to earn a buck. We're just as interested in a buck as the next person. We want to be able to monetize and scale. We like to build platforms. But has anyone ever considered the sacrifice of Mary, the sacrifice of Key, Paige, Kuldeep? Has anyone ever considered why we even have Women Shaping AI in the first place? I think about the magnitude of where we're headed when it comes to all these models that have been developed and deployed in the world. Some 300 new models almost per day that are being deployed in this world, of over, in a study that we're doing at Just Verify, over 1,900,000 AI models in the world and counting have arrived to our doorstep, not to mention the different various agentic systems that stem from these models. But I sit there and I think about the magnitude as we find ourselves entering into this era of hyperscale. Whatever's built will be built. And it's a big deal when you go into the surgical theater and to know that the AI that is placing and doing surgery on you or assisted with the surgeon is using a machine that was made by men, and sometimes without the appreciation of even a thought of consideration of a woman. The reason that I bring this up, and I stand fervent on this, is technology needs more of an inclusive culture when it comes to innovators to bring better foundation and better technology. And I see this era of responsibility that you've inherited. Malvika, we'd be remiss in not bringing up what inspired you to be able to have such a group forum, as we wish and hope for your great success in your endeavor. Please share with us.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for bringing that up. I always say this: in an ideal world, we don't need women shaping AI because we have people from diverse backgrounds at the decision-making tables helping to develop and deploy these technologies. But unfortunately, that's not the world we find ourselves in. So what inspired me to create Women Shaping AI is a few years ago when I started down my own journey of educating myself on all things AI, I realized very quickly that, as with everything, there's a gender gap in AI too. There's been multiple studies that have shown that women are a lot less likely to use AI in the workplace compared to men. Women tend to have more concerns about the societal and human impact of AI. But unfortunately, what that means is often women get left behind in terms of upskilling and reskilling and future-proofing their careers, if you will. And this is not just an issue of women are not using AI enough. We also have a pipeline issue. Women are not going to AI training programs. Women only make up 28% of the enrollments in global AI training programs, which is very problematic from a future perspective in terms of getting women ready to navigate this era of AI. And what's even more problematic is if you look at the professions that are going to be most vulnerable to displacement, i.e. things like clerical, administrative, secretarial type work, women make up something like 94% of that workforce. And that's just, we're talking about the workplace. But if you take the lens of looking at the world just societally, holistically, then we come back to the things that Mary was talking about, things like, AI companionship, people being able to take videos and images of women without their consent, AI companion girlfriends being created, where we are teaching an entire generation of men to dehumanize women for sport, because we are teaching them that a healthy relationship, a good relationship, is one where a woman does not draw boundaries. She does not say no. That's how these AI girlfriends and companions are designed. And so I think if we continue to create that world, not only do we exacerbate the loneliness crisis, but we create a world where we further dehumanize women. And I do not want to see us leave half the population behind in yet another technological revolution. So that's why I started Women Shaping AI.
And thank you for your heartfelt work with the need for shaping women in AI. And I do long for the day. I think most of us will agree that there will be never a need for such organizations for a diverse culture, because the situation has been solved and has been addressed. And ought it be? I mean, think about it. With the incredible technology key that we're innovating daily, with all the billions and trillions of dollars that goes into this investment, why are we still stuck in this rut? This must be addressed, because it's not us that are mostly impacted. All of us here clearly have lived some life. But our children, if you have them, or our nieces and nephews, the younger ones, they inherit what we innovate today. And Paige, I know you know that all too well. The key, as I think about this, as you yourself are a technologist, a leader, especially in the southern states, what is this responsibility that you have, not only as a woman, but as Key Jones, with what it is that we're building, with that which is emerging? And how do you find yourself keeping pace in order to be able to translate this into the others that you guide in the world?
Don't get me wrong. It could be quite exhausting at times trying to keep up with all the technology. But to make a long story short, in this world that we're living in, the only and best and great thing that we can do is lead by example. And as parents, as grandparents, as aunts, as uncles, and as our elders would say, do what you want others to do. You are to always lead by example. That's pretty much how I could put that in a nutshell. If you don't want the youth doing what they're not supposed to be doing, then you don't do it either. Be very mindful of what you post. Be very mindful of what you do, because guess what? One thing for certain, they are watching. They are watching everything that we do.
That's right.
Trust a plus, they're watching. So lead by example at all times in everything that we do, especially with this technology. You know it can cause harm, don't do it. Just because it moves fast and is robust and you want to get it done, don't do it. We need to also be ethical in everything that we do as technologists. Lead by example, guys.
Thank you, Key.
You're very welcome.
We're much obliged for your assertion and for your candid disposition. It's always welcome here at GatherVerse.
Thank you.
Kuldeep, you're welcome. Kuldeep, how can we support you?
Yeah, so I think, as I said, it's a collective responsibility.
Sure.
It's very hard for any innovators or any other just the organization to really keep up innovating, as well as keeping all the considerations of sustainability and everything intact. Because the moment you restrict your innovation stops restricting itself. So I think innovation we can't really restrict. The way AI going, the way all the innovation happening, it still continue going that. But where to take it, probably more education around it, more awareness. So a consortium or a group where that is innovating not just the tech innovation, but innovation in terms of how to use it, how to convey that message to the people who need it, how really make a user group that is inclusive enough to test certain thing and provide feedback to the builders. Because on one side, builders is making, are they getting real feedback? Probably not. So they might be continue producing the biased product, what they have. So it need a multi-party collaboration, then only the real thing we would reach.
It seems that this is a runaway train and somebody left the brakes behind. And it seems that this is where we found ourselves, Kuldeep. Thank you very much. And in closing, excuse me, Mary and Paige, I think we saw a bit of connectivity with both of you. I have a question that's for both of you. Is there a realistic possibility in this world? Kuldeep talks about it. Casey talked about it yesterday, for us to assemble together in community. Must it be only hyper-local? Is there a real opportunity from this child of Minnesota and from this daughter of Kenya to align together, to come together, to arrive, to put solvency to what Kuldeep just said? Can you both see a world where you both are paired together, building and innovating together? Do you both have that desire? Can you both commit to doing that right here on stage with GatherVerse? Will you both stand and to be able to raise that chalice and to assume mantle? Will you? Mary, Paige?
Mary? For me, easily. In fact, Remix Reef included women from Africa as well as Colombia, Canada, and America. And we're sending our Remix Reef to the moon. Behind me, you see an exhibit called AI and the Aesthetics of Becoming. We have creators from global spaces around the world. And I sit behind me with the work of Leah Ko, as well as Arena Reku, women from diverse places around the world, museums, art, song. All of these can be utilized with creating togetherness. Mary, I would love to work with you.
Yes, Paige, I would also love to work with you. And I'm excited to meet you here. And also, the power, I believe in the power of collaboration. Like Kuldeep said, there's need for feedback from both sides, from us as the users, and also from them as the developers. And I am really excited to collaborate with you, Paige.
Beautiful. I look forward to that. XR Women also has a student chapter in Kenya, the XR Women of Africa group led by Diana and Jerry. And we look forward to creating multiple ways of working together.
This is rather excellent, and I'm so encouraged by what I'm seeing unpack on this stage today. I sit here in closing, audience, as I sit here and we've been presented by these leaders that have adorned this stage, which we're so thankful for. being able to have each of you in your heartfelt expressions. I sit here and look at this opportunities that's presented with Mary and Paige. I also see encouragement for Mary, Paige, and Key to be able to support, and for Malvika to collaborate together for Women Shaping AI, because this I do know, each of these women leaders that are here on stage, great potential, and in their own work that I have the benefit of seeing, some for years, real impact. And Kuldeep, your consideration and the desire for people to arrive together, my friend, it's happening before your very eyes, and know that it's being assembled in each of you. You have a home here at GatherVerse, and for this moment, our GatherVerse well. Joining me on stage briefly before his roundtable discussion, Russell Bundy, to be able to have a little bit more insight on how we make these realities become possible. The best to each of you. Audience, follow them, join them, rock with them, explore with them. And for our next roundtable, may our gather be well.